listen over. You a queen when I less than I'm a gozy. Owamie, Owamie. Owamie, Owamie. Owamie, Owamie. Owamie, Owamie. Girl, you're such a powerful woman.
Hi, my ninjas. How are you doing? It's a girl, Owamie aka Miss Fair for collaborating back for our entertainment. If it's the first time joining me, I most definitely welcome. Please do make sure that I subscribe and obviously hit the bell. I absolutely love you. Guys, in studio, we have got the man himself, Nota, Baloyi.
Yeah. You know, it always feels weird when people introduce me like that because it's just Nota, right? And my name is Baloyi. So when they say Nota Baloyi, I'm like, this new person that they've just created now.
Wait, your name is Nshamulo. So where does Nota come from?
It comes from my initials, which is NB, which, you know, at school was Nota Bena.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I got at school.
Well, that's the one that went viral and famous.
Yeah, no, obviously it's easier to say, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was one of my many nicknames in high school.
But clearly the Nota one must have been your favorite because you
I stuck to it because I turned it into an acronym. It was Nota Bena, and then that was too long. Then I realized or I learned that Nota, Nota, stands for none of the above. So then I was like, okay, now I'm going to keep that.
Nshamulo. Wow, it's weird. I never saw you as a Nshamulo, ever.
Really?
No, I never. There's
so many of us.
Ne? No. I mean, I know as Nshamulo. I don't know. I just, like you and Nshamulo, I've always just thought Nota is actually your legal name.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
no, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. So welcome.
Thank you.
I should say welcome.
Sometimes I Google Nshamulo Baloyi to see if I'm the most famous one.
And does it ever pull up?
Yeah, there are other results, but I'm number one.
Just search Nota, you'll see that being the highest one of them all, you know.
So Nshamulo Baloyi, like any other Nshamulo Baloyi, suffers. Unfortunately,
because of the Nshamulo.
Yeah.
Well, in 2022,
yes,
we shot. Yes. And unfortunately, I was still new at this. The
gods must be crazy.
Oh man. The memory card actually like corrupted, so I lost when I went to have to like the web.
I was very sad about that. I was
know,
like, oh,
and it was a very long one, and I just want to publicly apologize for that. And thank you for actually coming back. It's not many people that will be like, I'm gonna go back. After that,
I'm a ninja.
You are.
I'm a ninja.
Yeah.
You know that there's various types of ninjas, ne? There's the ninjas that are like watch and support and everything else, and then there's the ninjas that love. So like I see myself as a loving ninja. You know what I mean? So whenever I see my Owamie doing some things, I'll be like, Owamie, no. No. You're out of line. You're
guys,
you're treading
come
danger.
to my DMs and be like, what did you mean here? Owamie, hey.
You know what I mean? So that's it. But that's just my loving nature. Because, you know, I care about people that are in this field, especially like people like yourself. Because I knew from the first day I saw you that you stand no chance in hell of making it on TV.
Ne? Yeah. No, I mean, well, I don't know. I think that for me, it's a bit of a... Because I'm like, okay, if I was to go to TV, they're going to tell me, no, you can't say shbubu. No, you can't do this.
No, it's got nothing to do with that.
Yourself.
You're going to have to find someone who's your boss, who you are now their girlfriend. Because that's how you make it on TV as a woman in South Africa.
Nota.
That's 100%.
Is it everyone?
100%. Unfortunately, that's how few the channels are. You know what I mean? If you don't start like that, you'll end up like that. Unless your parents are like big bosses, unless you're like an anele, and then you don't have to sleep your way to the top, because that work's already been done.
But is that not said though?
It's what happens when a system is controlled and there's so much gatekeeping. You know what I mean? So the gatekeepers protect one another. And yeah, that's what corrupts our industry. And that's why a lot of the women that are in the media space, you know, they just, you can tell that they have to fake their confidence because they know what it took for them to be on screen. You know what I mean? They know that it's not just talent that got them there. That's why they don't have the confidence that, you know, you have. You've got too much confidence. You're like, hey.
I didn't sleep with anyone there by Google. I worked, you know. But I think that, you know, if obviously that is how it is, I just feel like it would really be sad. And also, just looking at a lot of things that are happening to our famous people, because we find that a lot of these people, they're not even getting paid. I think that me being a YouTuber and I talk about celebrities and I'm here like feeling sorry for them, like, guys, you guys need to be paying these people way more than that. And then you had to even, like, you know, have the couch interview that I've heard people talk about. That's like really
Couch
sad.
costing.
Yeah, you know, that's like really sad, because there were allegations that there was someone that was acting on Generations that she was getting 35,000 rands, you know. And I mean, someone that is like, okay, some people or a lot of people
If
say,
you're
oh,
a
that's
waiter,
a lot.
You'll say that's a lot because you're thinking.
Do you
in your
understand?
pay
In
scale.
comparison, but if you think about what comes with actually being in the public space, you now don't have the luxury of living life like how you used to, because you need to get a place that is safe. You need to get safe mode of transportation. There's
And
a
also
lot
how much
that
money
goes
you're
on.
generating. If you look at it in like each 30 seconds is how many million rands, like on a generation time slot, it's a couple million rand per 30 seconds. So if I appear, what percentage of that couple of million rand per 30 seconds am I getting? You know what I mean? If the advertising slots is like 8 30-second slots in a show, in an episode that's 24 minutes, that gives you 3 different advertising slots of 2 minutes each. So you're looking at 6 minutes of advertising, which is how many ads? You know, if it's 2 million rand, let's say just 2 million rand per 30 seconds, you know, that's 12 million rand that they're making in one episode. You know, how much of that are you getting for the amount of time that you spend on screen? We're not saying that you should get like 10% or whatever, but at least something that's commensurate to the amount of money that they're making.
That should
with your
actually like
performances.
match, you know. Honestly, like that's
how
sad.
people should be thinking about it. The thing is that people think of jobs as whatever job is a job, so it's basic. If I clean toilets, this is my job. But you cleaning the toilet, does that bring money into the household? No, it does not. But you acting on screen, it brings money into the company. It brings, you know, advertisers. It retains viewers, all of that type of stuff. And because there's so few channels, it's very easy to abuse.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know, but why do we have so few though? You know, because from what I've seen, like, you know, with the Americans and all, they've got like your Hulu, they've got your this and that and
well,
that.
those are streaming platforms. But
Yeah.
if
Oh,
you look
yeah,
at
yeah,
America,
the streaming, yeah.
If you look at America, America's more like a continent. It's more like Africa. So they've got like a 6-hour time zone band. So to fly from LA to New York is a 6-hour flight. It's like flying from Addis Ababa to Abidjan, right? I think it's 7 or 8 hours. So that's Ivory Coast to Ethiopia. I think I can't remember. I was sleeping last time I flew there.
And it's still within America.
So, you know, it's like the
It's
same,
huge.
you know, it's huge. And so they've got regional stations. So Gauteng will have its own TV stations, TV channels. You know what I mean? There'll be lots of opportunities. If you're a news reader, there's maybe like 15 or 20 news channels within that little city that you live in, you know, and that gives them more opportunities. There's more content that can be made, and that stops the concentration of the system. But because our media was designed during the apartheid times, you know, it was regionalized and controlled within the SABC's network. So they had whatever stations that they had in whichever cities that they needed to have them in, and those were established back through, you know, military communications. So, you know, all the SABCs are like radio military bases. That's what they were first formed for. And they all have underground cables that connect all of them. So they're all connected. But because it was all state media, right? There wasn't like private companies that could invest in, oh, let's start our small station here, let's start our small TV station here. And then by the time satellite television came, we hadn't developed far enough. It was just adding on channels and licensing channels that were brought here. So Mnet would then add however many channels it could add, and then it would just license other channels. It'd get MTV in, it'd get BET in, and all of that type of stuff. So that's what concentrated our media landscape. And it's also the same with just our corporate sphere. Like, there's very few companies that own everything. You know what I mean? You work at Mug and Bean, you work at another restaurant, and you find out these are all famous brands.
By the same.
You go to a Spur or Panarottis or whatever, it's all owned by the same company. And yeah, that stifles our economy, Our economy is really suffering because of it. So the mere fact that YouTube, it's also one channel, but it allows a lot of content creators to create content to curate an audience, because you are not just curating your content, you're curating the audience. You know what type of audience appeals to the content you're making and how to reach out to them. And that has diversified the space and also opened up opportunities for people like yourself. But even then, there's ways in which someone that started like you did, you built from the ground up, so it took many years. But you didn't have the best cameras when you started. You didn't have lighting and everything else. So now, in this unequal country, some rich kid who grew up in Bryanston their whole time gets their mother or their parents.
Yeah, just invest 100,000.
And then all of a sudden you are now Ghost Ruby or something. Then, you know what I mean? And you're able to do all these pranks and scams because you can afford them.
You can afford.
And then you can generate more money. So it's an investable thing, and it makes it easier for the cheese boys and cheese girls to be content creators because they're not doing it for a living. And so that's the challenge that we're still facing. But I mean, the space is diversifying. People's attitudes are changing. One thing that I've got as like just a mark of my character is that I don't like rich kids.
Why?
Like I
think you are like a rich kid, right?
That's what people assume. But just because I grew up here in the suburbs in the north, they assume that. But like, my family was the poorest. My dad didn't have a corporate job. He's a building contractor. So he was at the bottom of the food chain when everybody else who I went to school with, their parents are either this director, this COO, the partner in a legal firm, and everything else. So, I mean, our vacations, we traveled the whole of South Africa. You know what I mean? We could never go overseas.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we never went on vacation.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I think that for a normal Joe like us, you are a rich kid. You might have been the
my mother
poorest.
worked for the state, so it's just like I'm like a teacher's kid.
I think there's levels to this thing. If you were to go to like the village, you were like the richest kid there.
Yeah, when I went back to the family in the village, but at the same time, I never got that sense because
you were like the bottom of the chain where you were. I get what
No,
you're saying.
not like that. No, because of what we were taught at home. So even when we went back to the village, like with my cousins that lived there, I mean, they had an easy life. So I could see the difference. That village life, okay, you don't have to wake up and find a job because, living here is practically free. We grow most of our own food. Food is not expensive. Entertainment is whatever you can do outside. You've got the freedom to do that. Whereas in the city, it's the rat race. I look at my cousins whose parents were living in the rural areas and their carefree lives, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus my parents who are in the rat race, who are living in Jozi, trying to survive. And also the trade-offs, like my mother prioritized traveling. So that's one thing she'd always be saving for. I'm saving for us to travel. And when we travel, each time we'd go on a holiday, we'd bring one of my cousins from whatever rural area along with us, So that taught me, number one, because I'd also observe like my cousin's behavior. And as much as sometimes I could tell that, they wish that maybe they had the lives that we had, right? I could also tell that it was a misconception or a misperception, I remember there was one holiday that we went on, you know. We went to Port St. John's, right?
Okay.
And my little brother's a little bit, he's a little bit more of a spoiled brat than I was. I think because I'm the firstborn son, and also because my big sister was always so obedient that, you know, one didn't want to step out of line, right? So my little brother decides, no, this Port St. John's place is nonsense. Like, this hotel is a backpacker's place. We don't even have TV. Like, let's go to Durban. Daddy, this holiday is a disaster. Please. No, my parents are now trying to calm my little brother down. You know what I mean? And then, okay, the next day, my parents say, okay, cancelled the rest of this accommodation, found another accommodation closer to Durban. We're going to Durban tomorrow. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's nice to be a spoiled brat. And so when we go to Durban, we go to Ushaka. And then my cousin, you know, I'm not going to say her name, but, you know, she's improved a lot since then.
Okay.
That's when we were still kids.
Okay.
And then my mother ordered pizza, right? And when the pizza, she's like, I need Jilish. So I was like, hold on, where have you ever eaten pizza before? She's like, no, she hasn't eaten pizza. And I'm like, okay, so then how do you know you don't eat it?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, number one, my mother sacrificed a lot for us to actually even go on holiday. You understand? This is my mother, right? And you're rejecting what she's giving to
Providing to you.
You understand what I'm saying? And I'm thinking like, yo, we don't need any of our cousins on this vacation. Like, we don't. Like, we'd have so much more. You know, the stuff that I would be able to do if you weren't here.
I would have more
fun.
The two
You know what I mean?
pieces that
And
you should be eating, I could be eating them.
You know, and I never complained. And I'm like, but why would you? Like, my mother is taking us on a vacation and you're giving her attitude. It's like, you know. And yeah, so that's where I learned that, you know, the different lives that we live can change us into different kinds of people. And sometimes people who you think are privileged and come from a great background, you know, they might not be as obnoxious or snobbish as you might assume them to be. And I mean, my mother was like, oh no, don't be like that to your cousin, because my mother also, you know, my mother's an orphan.
Okay.
So that comes with its own
traumas, I should
yeah,
say.
and issues. And also the way she found out that my grandmother died. You know, she overheard it because we were talking about her mother. And then when she was growing up, because my grandmother died when my mother was 5. So that's in 1963, right? So she heard about it. My mother was still 5. She died in 5 or 6. Yeah, because my mother was born in 57. So she heard about it in her pre-teen years, when other women are talking about, oh, you know what I mean? So like, that's how you hear about it, and that's the culture, is to keep things
very private. I remember they would just tell you, oh, she's visiting somewhere, she will come back.
You know, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which are lies, you know, which are things that also, like, I also had problems with, because, you know, you teach your family to lie, you teach your kids to lie, you all end up living lies. And my aunt, my cousin's mother, actually passed away. And while she was dying, you know, we were taking her to hospital, to clinics. This is before there was ARVs or anything of the sort, you know.
Okay.
And therefore, like, the doctors would tell you, take her to a hospice. And I remember, like, you know, there was so much hysteria around the virus and people, you know. And obviously my cousin was still too young. She was, I think, 4 or 5 years younger than me, right? So she didn't understand it, and she was still in the rural areas. So my aunt, who's my dad's younger sister, came to live with us, you know. And through that process, I learned a lot. You know, the doctors teaching us, okay, you mustn't stigmatize. I was still very young. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. Don't stigmatize, you know, this virus is passed on through these ways. So we went through the training process and how to care for her, you know, and we missed out on that part. So there was a part of me that felt like, damn, you know, I don't want to be too hard on my cousin, you know, because maybe she doesn't know how to express or accept
the passing of her mom.
gratuity. Like if someone's giving us something nice, how to accept it, how to be. Oh
so
no, you know what I mean?
When you guys went on that vacation, her mother had already passed.
Yes.
Well, you know, one thing that I can say is that I look at rich kids. And I admire, I won't even lie, you know, because we see them, rich kids, they're always popping up, you know, TikTok, whatever. And they're like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm going to be going out. You see, this is like an 18-year-old that is showing the background is a mansion. They're going into a Benz, you know, they're driving a G-Wagon at the age of 18. So for me, I think that I'm like, I get inspired not by the child, but by the parents. I'm like, they really worked hard in order to provide this lifestyle for their kids. Now, the only part that I dislike, because I know that there are those that are from rich families and they are well trained. I hate spoiled brats from rich families.
The ones that are on TikTok, those are all spoiled brats.
Not all are, not
100%. Let me tell you why.
One that, not one,
if
but
you're
I've
raised
seen
with
some.
modesty, you'll never show off what you have not worked for.
Sometimes it's not show off. Sometimes it's just like, okay, if you want to vlog, like right now, if I wanted to vlog.
Why do you have to vlog?
Why not?
You're rich. You don't need the money. That's the thing. So that's my thing, is that all these things that they do, they know that they're going to get likes, they're going to get attention, right? It starts from being a kid in school. I'm going to have the latest fashion because I'm richer than all the other kids. So I must have the latest fashion. Everyone's going to like me. Everyone's going to come to my place to play because I've got the latest PlayStation. I've got all the games and everything else. And I hated that. I saw it since I was a kid. And I've been a very observant kid. So I understand the attitude that drives that. It's the attitude of I'm better than you.
I think that for me, okay, let's make it an example of, I started vlogging in a back room. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone could see my background was a back room. Now I stay in an apartment, right? I'm working hard. I'm going to stay in a very big house.
But
do you
did
understand?
your dad buy that for you?
No, he didn't.
Exactly. That's my point. I'm
But,
watching
okay,
you
so
progress. I'm not
so this
watching
is the
you
part, right?
taking advantage of what your
let's
parents
say
have
for an
got.
example, I was staying in a back room and then I got married to a guy that is rich and then I moved into a house, right? Does it mean that my vlogging career should now end? Because clearly, if I'm vlogging, I have to vlog in here.
You got married. So you're providing whoever that man is with enough value for him to see you as a wife. That man is rich enough that he could have 7 different girls come in each and every single day in different hourly slots. That's how much money he's got,
So what
right?
are you saying? Not rich kids should not vlog?
No.
Why?
They shouldn't. They should be going out there. They should be volunteering for the United Nations. They should be feeding babies. They should be building schools in the rural areas. That's what the rich kids should be doing.
But remember, this is also a career, by the way.
But that's what. Look at Prince William and Prince Harry. What were they doing as young people? You saw them enlisting in the military, doing voluntary work. When you saw Princess Diana taking her kids around, you didn't see them in living the rich high life and everything else. When you heard about tabloids, when they would hang out with their other rich friends, that's when you heard the bad stuff that they were doing. But when they were with their mother, we are in a privileged position and we need to be of service to the rest of society to make their conditions better. They owe a debt to society because the impoverished, right, are the ones that are actually paying for the rich to enjoy the lives that they live. Why? Because they extract so little of the resources. You understand? If I'm rich, how much am I extracting? I'm extracting all the minerals because I've got different iPhones and I'm changing them each and every single year. I'm extracting all the petrochemicals because, you know,
I'm driving a big car with
I'm
big
extracting
engine.
all of these things. I'm extracting, and everything is a trade-off. Like I said, you know, my mother decided to save for vacations, then to buy herself new clothes and everything else, you know. And all the latest fashion, like my mother did. Okay, or my mother did sometimes get nice things. I remember she went to Singapore and she did a lot of shopping with her friends.
Imagine your mother went to Singapore. You
Yes,
can
and
literally just say that.
my mother
You're
went-
a rich kid, not.
You see, so that's the thing, is that my mother went to Singapore, but she didn't go with her husband. The rich kids, the parents were going to Singapore.
Because remember, rich is subjective.
Yeah.
There's someone that looks at me and they think, oh, she's rich. I don't, where else I look at myself and I'm like, because I know where I'm going, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not reached there yet. You know, we're not
Do you have a
there.
society?
What do you mean a
It's
society?
like every month you go and then you guys say a savings club, like a stokvel.
No.
Okay, so let's put my mother in that bracket. Her and her
no,
friends.
I do. It just ended though now. But
Okay.
like we're with friends, it's 2.5 a month.
Yeah, so that's quite a lot. I think it's more than my mother's one. But if my mother and her friends, that's what they would do. and they would save money. And then now they decide, well, let's take a trip, and then their husbands would top them up with a little bit of extra money for shopping.
Stockfell,
That's exactly,
a travel
so
Stockfell.
yeah.
But that those that can't even
It wasn't a
understand.
travel Stockfell. Come on, we were from Soweto. Like, I know Stockfell from Soweto. Like, we were broke back then. This is early 90s. You know what I mean? So it's all about prioritizing. That's the thing, is that if you're not looking at rich people and thinking, oh, I want that, you can actually look at your own surroundings and say, how do I get forward? How do I progress from where I am right now? How do I get to step B? How do I extend from a 3-room to a 5-room? How do I have the bathroom now coming inside the house? You know what I mean? How do I now move from a 1-story to a double story? Those are the things that you're able to do. So that's also what I hate about rich kids, is that they distract people, because that is what is seen as success, right? And people are mimetic. If you see someone being successful, you see that, oh, this girl, she posted a Ferrari on her timeline and now she's getting 20,000 likes. Whether or not that is part of your vision or your journey, you're going to look at that and envy it.
But it means you're also mentally poor.
Everyone's mentally poor. Everyone's mentally poor.
In that aspect, I don't believe, honestly.
Otherwise,
Not have, think
Instagram
about it,
wouldn't
like
exist.
you have seen, let's say like you have seen all these people pose with whatever. Like, have you ever been envious of someone?
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that I come from a different background. Like I told you, I hate rich kids. Since I was a kid, I've always hated it. You know what I mean? I've hated that. When I was in primary school, I went to school with only white kids. I was like one of the few. I was the first black kid in my school, right? And my parents couldn't afford the school fees. I went there purely because the teachers said they'd rather close the school than lose the opportunity to educate me. That was it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's what, when my parents said, no, we're taking him out of the school, we can't afford it anymore. You know, that's what they said. So throughout that, even the high school that I went to, you know, I wanted to go to where all the other rich kids in the north were going to. You know, I wanted to go to St. Cecilians and everything else. My parents said they couldn't afford it. And then I ended up going to like a black school that is for the brightest kids in previously disadvantaged communities. So all the brightest kids in Soweto, all the brightest kids in Westbury, Bosmont, you name it.
Those are the kids that you went to school with.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Okay.
all of them came from impoverished backgrounds. So according to them, they thought, no, I'm a cheese boy.
Of course.
There was even an incident where one of these, hey, cheese boy, someone screamed, hey, cheese boy, and then my mother was picking me up from school and she got out of the car and she chased the boy down and threatened to slap him and said, hey, I'm cheese boy. So we never, growing up as kids, we were never allowed to make ourselves feel as if we're superior to others.
That goes with home training.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. So I think that I think we're agreeing, you know, on the fact that we do have kids that are from rich families, but they're so well trained.
But now
you know?
you can't envy the kid that's not well trained. So yeah, like I was saying, I mean, you can't envy the kids of parents who don't train them. You know, class consciousness is something that's very close to my heart. Like, I'm very aware of where I sit in the social food chain, you know, how privileged my background is, you know, and my upbringing in comparison to other kids. And that's why I feel like at the level that I'm at, my job is to reach down to ensure that there's better opportunities for those that are at a lower level, you know? And what I find is that at the level that I'm at, there's no one that's at a higher level that's reaching down at all. Whether they're reaching to me or reaching past me, as if, as long as they're reaching down, you know? And I don't see that at all. So that's just what made me, you know, have a different attitude, because white people are not like that. It's very strange. So I was telling you about the school that I went to. Like, the white kids, they were very generous. You know, they at no point in time was I made to feel like I'm poor, even though I was poorer than all of them. You know what I mean? No point in time did they make me feel like that. And also another thing is that, like, our home was very comfortable. You know, I didn't think it was a big deal that white kids wanted to sleep over at our house. You know, but they did. Everyone wanted to sleep over at our house because, you know, they love my mom's cooking, number one, because my mom actually cooks. She's not gonna order panarotis. No, a lot of their mothers were past their cooking stage. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, you know what I mean. So that was a big deal for my parents, because then for them they felt like, oh yes, we've provided a home that even these white people can feel like, no, we can send our kids to them.
Yeah.
And another thing is that, just my behavior when I was at other people's houses, like I knew that my mother's gonna call and ask for a full report. You know what I mean? So even when my friends were misbehaving in their own homes, I'd be like, yo, don't do that when I'm visiting, please.
You know what is the thing that I've realized, I think that there's this thing where they talk about old money, new money, right?
Yeah.
I would say the best that I understand. I feel like old money, those parents, like they come from money, so they have been used to money almost like all their lives. So let's say I'm from a rich family, right? And then I'm rich, because I think I believe honestly that's how it should be. Like if my grandfather was rich, my father should be rich, I should be rich, my kids should be rich. Like that wealth should be generational wealth that is passed, right? Like we don't need to have struggling kids. But what I've found is that parents that come from money discipline their kids, and they teach their kids values that money is not everything. Whereas new money, when you find like, people my age, our age, going up, to their 38, 39, 40s, and they come from like a shack, and now, things went well, you have got money. Oh my goodness.
You start treating
these
people
kids
that
are
don't have
the
money.
most spoiled brats that you will ever come across. They are taught no values. And I'm not saying it's all, but it's majority of them. And so that's why if you look at it, you'll find that the kids you are talking about that would be online flexing, it's the 19, 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 25-year-olds.
Not even.
For me, that's what I've seen.
So I observed this from my marriage, because I'd never met my then wife's family. Even to this day, like I've only met her one sister, and so they come from Zim. They come from an economic hardship situation. And that same attitude that, I saw in my cousin when we went on vacation is the same attitude I saw in my then wife. You know what I mean? As in, like, when we'd go on family vacations and everything else, she wasn't used to that. And it brought about a sense of resentment. Like, each and every single family vacation was an opportunity for us to now start fighting about something, And I'd be like, why do you want to ruin the happiness of us, being as a family? Like, I love family vacations. I used to love them as a kid. The fact that, as an adult, me and my family, me and my parents, my siblings, we go to places again to feel the same feeling we felt when we were kids growing up. That rejuvenates us, that gives us energy. I would rather go on a family vacation with my parents and everybody else than us as a couple go on a vacation. You know what I mean? And that's the attitude of like looking at people that you think are richer than you and hating them for what they have, right? And not
wouldn't
for
that
who
be
they
the
are.
same? Okay, yeah.
You understand
Not
what I'm saying?
For who they are.
Yeah,
Okay,
hating them for what they are. I've got no problem with kids being rich and everything else.
You dislike the attitude.
The attitude and the way they carry themselves. They feel that they're better than other people. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no problem with you guys being rich kids. But if you're a rich kid and all you're going to do is post and flex what your parents have, you're not contributing to the community. You're not doing anything. You're not starting a soccer club for the kids in Deep Sloot.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I get.
You're not doing
if
any of that.
If you've got all these resources, you might as well use them for good.
You understand?
I do understand what you're saying.
In fact, you are making sure that you've got the best coach so you can play for Kaizer Chiefs and you can bribe the scouts at Kaizer Chiefs so they can put you in the squad. Instead of actually saying, okay, these resources that we have, there's like 8 kids in the township that could be trained, that could have an opportunity at something better for themselves. And they're not getting anywhere. And that's why I was like, if I could replicate myself in a lot of these kids, it would be a lot better. Like, our country would be in a better position, because even within my work, like in music, like the studios are right here. Everything is right here. All the record labels are right here. I know how to make music. I'm talented myself. I can put myself on TV, I can make myself a star. But I mean, what does that help? You know, because what will that get me? It'll get, oh, you're famous. You know what I mean? The real rich people that are making real money are still around and thinking to themselves, oh, my goodness, at least his hobby is making him happy. But it's not like it's changing
the world in any way.
Or even my life, or even my family. You know what I mean? It's not like it's going to take us from generational debt or from poverty to, you know, generational wealth that we can pass down. But for the kid that's staying in poverty, it can change their lives. It can change the course of their family's lives.
I think that for me, the conversation, honestly, that we have, I feel is very important. I also feel like it should also be the responsibility of the parents of the kids that are less fortunate to not have kids that they cannot afford. Because again, no, I'm being honest with you. So this is what I have to say, right? What I'm saying is that I'm working very, very hard to make sure that
I don't have kids either as well.
Yes, I know you don't have kids yet, but I'm talking about, like, I'm working very, very hard so that my child is going to have a better future. That's why, like, I work right now and I make sure that he goes to a private school. I make sure that I teach him values and lessons, but I'm always at a point where I never want my child to want something and I can't get it for him because I can't afford it, you know. However, I'm also not raising him to be like a materialistic child. Whenever I ask for anything, it's always well within reasonable means. You understand what I'm saying? But I feel like it also would be a bit unfair to wanna, like, now put all the responsibilities of those kids that are wherever they are struggling on the kids of the rich parents, because they also, like, had none of it or chose none of it except for the fact that their parents planned better for them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand what you're saying, and I think that is a very elitist view.
Okay.
And I understand why that is the view that people have around the world. That's why you find rich people that are having 0 kids. It's like you can afford to have 10 kids, but you're having 0 kids because you're selfish. You don't want to think beyond when you're no longer alive.
I don't think it's selfish.
It is.
I don't think it's selfishness. I
Let
think sometimes...
me put it to you like this.
Nota, you know that there are people that understand that, okay, I may have the money, but I don't have the emotional capacity to care for a child.
That's selfish.
It's not.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying, is that for you, is that your happiness, right, is everything to you. And therefore, a child is someone that now you need to provide for them. You need to provide emotional support. And you don't want to pour out any of what you have.
I don't want to pour out. What if it's a matter of my cup is empty? I battle with mental health. And I know for a fact that bringing in a child with all the traumas that I carry, I'm going to pass those traumas down to this child. Then am I being selfish to say that I want to protect my kid by not bringing them to earth?
So you're telling me that now these traumas that you have are like a flu. So you're going to sneeze and then this child's going to have them. And then this child is never going to amount to anything. The same society that you live in has produced people that have slept in the streets and gone on to become captains of industry. The same environment that you are talking about is the same environment where people who didn't have anything end up becoming presidents of countries, leading people, designing new medical procedures that save lives. All of these things, all of this human potential is based on us having many more humans that can have. I mean, for me, I've been very selfish as well, because I don't want to raise children in this current environment as well. And I'm also very picky about any woman that I would make a mother. Are you
selfish or are you planning?
No, I'm very selfish.
Can I give you an example right now, and I'm going to dip into this. Like, let's look at Nigeria being the biggest populated country in the continent, right? I don't know, like, okay, not in the world, but I think in the continent, right?
In the continent, yeah.
In Africa, right?
Yeah.
There's so many videos that I have seen, like when I'm on TikTok, and you know, these are videos of Nigerian men literally risking it all, risking their lives, going on boats that are unsafe. There are many with just a hope of I will make it to the other side.
No, I will escape. Not I will make it to the other side.
Yes, I will escape from where I am, because again, that's the part that I'm saying. Like, they would rather risk it to die in the ocean or in a desert than stay where they are. Where else, had it been that there was like more planning in terms of like not just bringing kids into this world, then I think that like there wouldn't be. I would rather you don't birth me than birth me in poverty. I won't lie.
It's got nothing to do with
suffer?
poverty. It's got everything to do with classism. That's the thing, is that the classes of the people that are able to travel and leave Nigeria are the rich people who used to sell human bodies as slaves.
But it's not all.
It's almost 100% of them. Okay. You can study it. I've studied it. You know what I mean? So, like, the classes system in Nigeria is very different to here. Here, our black elite was very is very small. Like all the royal people, all the landowners from back in the day, from your Sol Blakey and all of those guys, the people that started the ANC, all of those people had the right to vote, number one, fought for the right to vote. They went to the Queen in England, they got on a boat, they went and spoke to the Queen and said, we'll keep our black brothers and sisters at bay. They won't burn any of your stuff and you can use them as labor. So we were sold out. Do you understand? So that whole entire thing is the reason why we as black people, we find it very difficult to unite, because, I mean, when we listen to our kings sold us into slavery. You know, any black person that has the opportunity to progress in life is willing to do so at the expense of the other black people. You know, all of this is selfishness. I'm willing to leave South Africa so I can have opportunities in whatever better country in the United States and not use my human capital to actually better the situation for my people back at home. You know what I mean? If I'm leaving for myself. Like, you look at all those guys that are leaving. They're leaving, but have you ever wondered, are all of them fatherless? I mean, are all of them childless? Are all of them wifeless? So for them to progress in their life, they're willing to jump on a boat, risk their life, because there's a lottery ticket on the other side, but they're leaving people that are living in conditions that they had to escape from. You know, all of that is selfishness. And people that come from stories like that, they like to glorify it in some way as if it's noble. It's not noble that you cross the Limpopo River to work as a waiter when you're a teacher because you refuse to fight the government that you vote for. You understand what I'm saying? It's not noble. And you're making the situation worse and worse and worse because less and less skills are deployed to improving the situation back at home. And so therefore, more and more people are subjugated. And also you're discouraging the people that feel like there's something worth fighting for. You know, you can't abandon your home like that. So for me, you know, I've had very selfish reasons as to why not having children, because like just from my dating experience and everything else, I feel like, you know, the situation that we live in South Africa creates a damaged woman, like in general. You know, they don't have any men that they can value. Right? And that's why you see our sisters just dating any random guy, like losers.
They
losers
don't
get
have
married
any men that they can value, or they don't have valuable men.
No. Like the men in our society
are valuable.
Are very low
Nota.
quality. Very low quality.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
They don't have.
Okay.
I can't pick out a guy that I'd say, my sister must marry this guy.
Okay.
Do you understand? If I were to find a guy that I think, damn it, this guy must marry my sister, I'd take him to my sister and say, listen, you guys are getting married.
I'll pay you, marry her.
No, it's I wouldn't need to pay. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, you know, I've got a very beautiful sister. But either way,
no, I wasn't saying. No, I'm just saying. I'm talking about like, oh, I've got the one. Like, I'll do it. You understand? But yeah.
There's nothing. There's no quality. Like, this is from my own dating experience. So you've got a whole lot of damaged women, daddy issues, all of that type of stuff. You know, and I think to myself, damn, I don't have those issues. My dad is very present, you know, very involved in my life, you know. In fact, he wants to see me even just now, just to see me for the sake of seeing me. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm his son. I'm his photocopy as well. You know, he wants to say, okay, you so know, what's up?
In reality, that is not the case for majority of us.
Yes, but you see that's also another problem, is that the ones that don't have the two-parent household and everything else, they then internalize that, right? And then they envy. You turn to envy instead of like saying, okay, I'm going to be the two-parent household for my children. You now look at all you guys are spoiled. You've got both your parents and everything else. Like, why is something that's normal now supposed to be shamed? Because so many people are going through having single-parent households that they now need to make themselves feel better by looking down upon those who come from houses where, you know, they were either well composed or their parents kept it together long enough to raise their children and have them leave the nest, you know. And that's also another problem, because then you don't appreciate the values that keep a family together. You know, you envy. Everything is about, oh, I envy that.
I think that for me, what I've found is that majority of black households, I'll speak for black households because I have not seen like white households set up like that, you know. But majority of black households that the father and the mother were together long enough to raise their kids have been very abusive. It's very abusive situations. Let me tell you how. What I've seen is that you find that the wife, majority of the time, she has to be the one that has to carry everything and close everything. It's like the responsibility for this family is placed on the wife. Like she has to be the one that actually carries this. Oh, he's cheating. Oh no. You as the wife, you can't even show the kids that you're hurt.
So how many guys are not cheating?
No, but I'm gonna get to that, right? So what I'm saying is that at times you find that we actually still have very damaged individuals that come from double parent households, and they don't know that they're damaged because they see my mom and my dad live like this and they've lived like this for years, and they think that that's the norm, which it's not. We do have families that, you know, they are well adjusted, there's no abuse in place, and those kids also, they grow well adjusted like that. But we have very, very, very toxic households that have got double parents, and the parents that the kids that come from there, they truly believe that this is the gospel. My mother used to wash, my mother used to clean, my mother used to go to work, my mother used to do everything. When are you complaining because you're now asking me to help you wash the dishes? And you understand that, oh my gosh, like you were raised from a double parent household, but it wasn't well adjusted, so you think that's the norm, and it's not. You understand?
Okay. Yeah, well, I completely disagree, because I look at like the causes of that. So, you know, being in Soweto is a completely different from being in Toyando. So that's where people migrate to. So if you look at the township setup, right, a lot of those households were small enough for them to have 3 kids and everything else. During the point in time where there weren't rich black people just popping up everywhere because of tenders and all this opportunity that was around, those families were well composed and they stayed together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, no, they stayed together. Like within one household, there wasn't this thing of so-and-so dad is cheating. It was an exception. You know what I mean? And now we live in this world where there's so much media. All the cheaters are the ones that get all the attention because, you know, that's what people want to hear about, right? You never hear about faithful men or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I know that, God forbid, the day my parents are no longer here, I'm not going to hear about siblings that I didn't know about. You know what I mean? I know also at the same time that, you know, I've got lots of uncles who've got multiple kids. Like I was finding cousins, like when my one uncle died, like, oh, this is your other cousin, this is your new cousin, this is another cousin, this is, you know what I mean? So I know that there's a duality in the situation, but I look at what actually caused that. And what caused that is 2 things. Number one, migrant labor. So men having to leave their homes and their homesteads to go and find work elsewhere, you know? And that removed them from their roles and responsibilities within the home. Right. And another thing is capitalism and it needing women to now start working. There was a point in time where the household work that a woman would do was all the work that she'd do. So even if she's washing and cleaning and stuff like that, it doesn't really take that much of her time. Right. And especially if she's got children, they can also help with that. The more children she has, the more help she has, the more you divide those responsibilities. At a certain point in time, when your daughter turns 10 years old and you've got sons that are 5, 6, 7, you know what I mean? You don't have to do any housework anymore because your kids are now old enough to cook, to clean, to do everything. So you are freed from that burden or responsibility, and you can get back to providing order in your household. So there's a whole lot of things that have happened within our society and the way that we live today that are not normal. Women should not have to work, you know. Like my mother worked until very recently. She's finally become a housewife now that she's retired, right?
Oh, so she got money, not bring us the money.
No, actually, yeah. That's a story for another day. Okay. Yeah, you don't know the story? Okay, you haven't been following me long enough. Okay, so you know, that situation. Now,
sorry, you were saying that your mom, it's only now that your mom has gotten to be a housewife.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my dad is still working. You know what I mean? He's 70. He should be retiring. So our situation is that because my mother had to work, right? And because a whole lot of other women had to work, all the men had to have their salaries cut because they were competing in the labor market with women now who are offering cheaper labor. You know what I mean? The working conditions also changed. Women, you have to think about maternity leave, benefits, all these types of things. You know what I mean? So those change the way in which the working environment works. Now, salaries have to be cut so that we can also ensure that there's benefits that then it make it look like you're earning a bigger salary than you are, but actually it's like, okay, I'm paying Liberty, I'm paying Discovery, I'm paying with my salary. These are not benefits. It's like things I'm paying for these services. You know what I mean? Like I've got a medical savings. So when I used my Discovery, it's the money that I put in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not new money that's being used for my medical care. It's for savings. So those situations change the dynamic in our relationships. And what we haven't gone to do or do the work is actually to study our psychology, our human psychology, now that we've changed so much. Think about it like this. 100 years ago, right? It's 1920s. The First World War has just ended. You know, the Soviet Union is being constructed. The world is at a completely different developmental stage. If you looked at Toyando back then, people were subsistence farmers and all that stuff. They had a lifestyle that they lived. It's 100 years later, our lifestyles have completely changed. What have we done to pathologize the actual condition that our society has created for us? You know, what have we done to do the psychology work to actually say, listen, we need to live differently. The way in which our families were normal in the past is no longer normal. The expectations that you have of a woman who now also has to go into the labor market cannot be the same as a woman who's staying at home as a homemaker, where the work is the home. You know what I mean? Also, you look at things like how do we compensate women for the labor that they perform inside the homes? It's unpaid for. So every other thing that she does, she gets paid. When she's working in her own home, she doesn't get paid. So then what you're doing is that there's no reward, like commensurate to the effort that she's putting in. So you make her family now a burden, now a liability. So you're changing this woman's psyche in the way she looks at her family. The homemaking task is now a burden to her, and her children now become a burden. And that's why you're finding a lot of women are the ones who are opting out of marriage because they don't want to be now in a two-income household where they need to work and then they also need to do the chores, right? They're also opting out of having children because it's like children are taking away from my life. Whereas having children is the biggest blessing and, you know, the biggest life accomplishment. Yeah, it's the greatest privilege, you know, to have children. Okay. You know, to bring people into this world.
Or maybe women are opting to not have kids because the fathers of these kids are just so unstable, that they leave them to be single mothers. Because if you look at it, especially in South Africa, yes, we have got majority of, like in the whole of Africa actually, we have more baby mamas. Like our men
but that,
leave.
look at how far apart we are from our traditions and our culture compared to other less liberal. Look at places like Afghanistan where girls can't go to school. They don't have any of the problems that we have.
No, but again, like we do not have to like put a lid on girls' Nota in order.
I'm not putting a lid on them. I'm just saying it's like
if the marriage has to work because one is uneducated, that's a lead for me.
So they're uneducated, right? But they're not having multiple abortions. They're not having the psychological problems that they have. They don't care about Instagram having to keep up with the lifestyles that we have to keep up with. They're not suffering from breast cancer the same way women in our modern societies have because, you know, they drink too much alcohol and alcohol actually causes breast cancer. You know, they're not eating processed foods because they're actually making their food, you know, so they're not suffering from all the ailments. They don't have
to go to school and go to work. So we also can't compare the both.
We can.
And even with them, they can't escape an abusive man. Even if she's married to a man that beats her, they will beat her until she's dead. No, I'm being honest with you.
No, that's not true because there's actually laws against being abusive to your wife in those same repressive countries.